welcome to this month's Portals Community Call. It's great to have you with us, and it's great to be back for another one. We have Nicholas Hayduk here to take us forward on today's event. But before we do that, just a couple of housekeeping notes. First, we do welcome your questions. Enter them anytime. Nick does a great job of keeping an eye on that, and I will be watching it too if you need anything. And we're also recording today's event, so if you miss any part of it, we will be sharing a recording with you. So without any further delays, I think that's all for me. Nick, I'll hand things over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Jason. Welcome, everyone. Today, our featured topic will be Scanning for Safety, the Power Pages edition. So we're going to look at all the various scans that are available within Power Pages. And we do have actually some pretty decent news this week, or this month as well. I know in the past few months we've been a little light on news, but the pace is certainly starting to pick up, so we have that to go through as well. So for those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Nicholas Hayduk. I'm the president and software engineer at Engineered Code Consulting Inc., based here in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. Our company is a Dynamics or a Power Platform partner that assists organizations with Power Pages and Power Platform implementations. And we also have EC Learn, which is our learning management system built directly on the Power Platform as well. I myself, I'm an MVP, and I've been working with Power Pages for the last 15, 16, 17 years, since about 2009. And my career began at ADX Studio, which was the company that originally built Power Pages and that Microsoft acquired in 2015. If we're not already connected on LinkedIn, please feel free to connect with me there. If you're interested in other Power Pages content, you can follow us on Twitter/X. We have our blog that we do every month. I've got a YouTube channel where we post these recordings as well as my weekly Power Pages tips. And we've also got the Refresh the Cache podcast, so a podcast focused on Power Pages, available at crm.audio. There should be a new episode of that coming up very soon. We recorded one recently, so yeah, if you're looking for Power Pages content, we have lots to offer there. As always, just want to say thank you to Jason and the team at MS Dynamics Worlds for their support of this event. We're now, I think this is year 7, perhaps, of what we've been doing this. So it's been a great collaboration, and really appreciate all the support he does and all the great work he does, keeping everyone informed as to what's going on. So in terms of our agenda, we're going to keep it the same as usual. We have our Portals news, then we'll get into our today's topic, again, Scanning for Safety, the Power Pages edition. We'll leave some time for Q&A, and we'll discuss the date and time of the next community call. So, as I mentioned, we've got a bit of Portals news since we were last gathered here about a month ago. So, in no particular order, maybe the biggest one, though, is client-side API. So, for years and years and years, since the beginning of time as it pertains to Power Pages, if you were doing client-side work, you could essentially just interact with the DOM directly. There were certain conventions in terms of like the names of columns would map to the IDs of the inputs, that sort of thing. But it was it was totally okay to interact directly with the DOM because there was no other way to do it. Microsoft recently put out in preview a client-side API. Modeled very much after the client-side API that exists for model-driven apps. So it allows you to do things like, get a kind of a field by the name. You can do things like hide and show and set value and all the things that you're kind of familiar with on the in, say, a model-driven app. You can now do through this client-side API. Still, I don't think this means that you have to go back and change all of your existing code. Our process is going to be to start using it moving forward. I don't think that this is indicative of any major changes to the DOM that are coming up. I think there's just, it's nice to have some consistency between the different products in the Power Platform with how these client-side APIs work. But yeah, it's nice to see this as something that I know people have been asking for a long time. So if you're building Power Pages and you're using JavaScript, definitely recommend you take a look at that, and once it's kind of generally available, start using that instead of the direct DOM manipulation. Up next on our list is single page applications are now generally available. So if you've been playing around with those and have a production use case for single page applications and you want to use Power Pages to do that, looks like that's kind of good to go now. The other thing is that there were some enhancements to the new server logic. So that was the big thing that came out in the fall, the ability to write JavaScript that runs directly on the Power Pages server in that kind of secure environment. So you can do things that you wouldn't necessarily want to do in the client's browsers, doing things like interacting with third-party APIs using API keys that are not shouldn't be publicly accessible. So within the server side, the server logic enhancements, looks like they're going to give us a way to bypass the cache. Now, this is kind of my number one request whenever we kind of do our wish list episodes. My number one thing is always a programmatic way to clear the cache. This isn't quite it. It does give you a workaround in some cases to in some situations that it may be helpful to do that. But it looks like you can basically make requests and say do not use the portal cache. So that's an awesome enhancement. Still would like a way to, because that's not going to impact, I don't think, the way that lists and forms work, so that they'll still be kind of subject to the cache. But it does, there will be definitely certain scenarios that it will allow us to just kind of get around the caching, being a bit of a pain in the you-know-what. So yeah, you can bypass the cache. They've now got support for the standard data model. When it first came out, it was just an enhanced data model thing. Now they do support the standard data model. And there's new functionality to allow you to debug in VS Code Desktop. So you can essentially run your JavaScript code that's running typically on the Power Pages server. You can kind of step through it in VS Code Desktop. And there's ways, because there is no like direct connection, like you're not connecting back to your Power Pages server. So they let you essentially mock, if there's certain things like site settings that you want to be able to, if your code tries to access, you can kind of mock the data for that. But you can use there's an HTTP client that's available in the server logic stuff. So you do have access to that and you can use that. And then kind of mock the data that would be coming from Dataverse. So if you're starting to play with server logic, that local debugging can certainly make your life a lot easier. So yeah, lots of great things coming with the with that client-side API and these server logic enhancements. So for the pro code people, these are all for you, and it's good to see Microsoft making some enhancements in those areas. I've got Adrian asking if the client-side API is still a preview feature. I think so, because it was, when did that come out? I mean, it was only announced January 21st, and I would say typically those things take months to become generally available. If it is GA, I missed that announcement, but that's a relatively new feature. Like I said, January 21st is when it was announced. So I suspect client-side API is still very much in preview. All right. With that being said, that is our news for the month. Let's move on to today's topic, which is scanning for safety, Power Pages Edition. So like I mentioned at the beginning, Felix is asking us what's SDM support. So SDM is the standard data model. So when the and that's the like the ADX underscore tables versus the MSPP underscore tables. So when server logic was first introduced, it was only available for sites that were using the enhanced data model. It is now available for sites using the standard data model. All right, so let's talk about scanning. So with Power Pages being a low-code tool really targeted at enterprises, safety and security are certainly top of mind. So what that means is that the Power Pages product team has provided various quote unquote scans to assist people who are building Power Pages. And so what do we mean by scan? In this case, I'm going to say it's an automated tool that analyzes something to detect something. It could be, sometimes a scan is looking for good things, sometimes looking for bad things. In our case, generally what we have are scans that are looking for security, safety, reliability, those types of things, and it's going to provide some sort of recommendation. So in terms of the scans available in Power Pages, these are the 5 that we're going to talk about today. So we've got the quick scan, the deep scan, the code QL scan, and then there are a couple of scans that are enabled via the security agent. So within the security agent, there's the automated scan, and then there's the traffic monitoring. So those are the 5 scans that we're going to talk about today, and we'll get started with the quick scan. So the quick scan is the oldest one. It's been around for quite a few years. It goes back to long before the Power Platform Admin Center was a thing. There used to be at the time, like the Dynamics 365 Portals Admin Center, where there was a place you could go in and click a button and it would run some checks on your site. So back then it was known as like the Portal Checker. As it stands today, it's available in the Power Platform Admin Center. It usually runs very quickly, and it basically is checking for a bunch of issues based on a specific rule set, as most scans would do. And it's primarily focused on relatively simple configuration issues. For the most part, what it's doing is it's analyzing your settings in Dataverse. There's very little of it actually going to your Power Pages site and kind of looking at the site itself. There's at least one thing where it's checking to see if the site actually loads, but for the most part, it's like analyzing things in Dataverse and saying, hey, your setting is this, do you want it to be this? So let's take a look at that. So I'm going to bring up my Power Platform Admin Center. So here it is. So if I go into Manage and go into Power Pages, if I were to open my Power Pages site, let's open this one. What we have here is, you can see deep scan, we'll talk about that next. Then we have the quick scan. So I'm going to click run. Hopefully it won't take too long here. Like I said, usually this runs in a handful of seconds. It usually doesn't take too long, and we'll see that it generates a list of warnings and successes and all that sort of stuff. So if we look at like kind of what's passed, we've got things like it's checking for the configuration for cross-site scripting and content types and cross-frame. It's checking to see if your firewall's enabled, checking to see if web template validation. So if we open this up, we'll see the site setting, that this is related to a site setting. It's checking to see if administration mode is enabled. Again, we've got a list of about, 20, 30 options in here. And for the most part, for the ones that it fails, so for example, in this case, anonymous access to Dataverse tables. It's going to tell you kind of some details more about what's going on here, and you can click links to kind of find out more information. Content security policy, in this case, I haven't set up on my test site some of the CSP settings. You can see here anonymous access is important here as well. There's been a few quote unquote data leaks over the years related to that anonymous access. So those are definitely things that are top of mind for these scans. And let's see, enum value is expected for site setting. Oh, the same site default. Looks like I've got one site setting in here that has a weird value. And the rest of these, as you can see, have passed. You can see things related to site search, number of web roles. There's, they want, fewer than 100 web roles, site markers. And then, like I said, there was one right here, portal does not load and displays server error. So again, that's the one that I know is kind of checking the site itself. but for the most part, what it's doing is it's looking at various kind of site settings. For the most part, I find that there's not too many kind of false positives in here. Generally, if you've got warnings or if it's kind of recommending that you change something, generally they probably should be addressed, or at least kind of documented why they're okay, right? Sometimes you do want anonymous access to Dataverse tables, so if you do that, just kind of document why that one is there. So again, quick scan lives up to its name, runs in a few seconds, shows this list of items here. Generally, again, targeting like site settings is the main one. It's not looking at any kind of custom pages or code or anything like that. It's basically a rule set of, hey, we recommend this site setting should be this value, and that's kind of what it's looking at. So the simplest and easiest of all these scans is the quick scan. Be curious, go run it yourself on one of your sites and see what it gives you. Okay. Let's then talk about the deep scan. So the deep scan is available, as we saw, in the Power Platform Admin Center, and also available in the Design Studio. Now they say it can take an hour or two. I mean, I think in most cases it's a matter of minutes, as long as your site isn't massive. As the name suggests, it's providing a much more in-depth scan, and what it is doing is it's looking at the site itself. So it's loading actual pages from the site and doing a much more comprehensive scan of that site. So I'm going to flip back to our browser here, and we can see. So I've got this deep scan. Again, it can take a few minutes, so I'm not going to run it here. I can see the results of my previous run. The other thing I can do is if I'm in the Design Studio, if I go to security and I can see scan here, this run scan area is the deep scan. I don't think it's not actually running the scan. So I could run a deep scan here, or again, I can go back to my Power Platform Admin Center and view the results here. So in my deep scan, roughly a similar number of things that's looking at, but you can see the things that it's looking at are based on actually loading the site and not really looking at the settings of the site, but actually looking at the live site and kind of giving you suggestions. So, for example, it's looking for things like server-side code injection, hidden file finder, server-side template injection. So again, a lot more sophisticated rule set on this one. This I'm assuming is using some sort of engine under the hood to look for these things. I don't think that the Power Pages team specifically has written the engine for this, whereas for the quick scan, there's things that are kind of more Power Pages specific, whereas this deep scan is kind of more general, generic web application stuff. So let's look at the ones that have failed for me. Again, CSP, so there's some overlap with the content security policy between the deep scan and the quick scan. Application error disclosure, so yeah, if an error happens, I've got my custom errors turned off. It's looking at cookies without same site or secure flags, so we got some cookie settings, and we've got some cross-domain JavaScript source file inclusion. So again, this one's really focused on analyzing it as a web application and looking at the site itself, and that's one of the reasons that it takes a little bit longer to run, because it's actually hitting the site and loading the site. So very useful tool. Again, in my experience, most of the things that it raises are worthy of kind of dealing with and cleaning up. So I don't see a whole lot of false positives in here. It's a good, generally best practice to go in there and kind of clean up these things as much as you can. Quick check on the questions. I don't see any new questions. So, all right. So those are the two kind of main scans that we see here in the Power Platform Admin Center, or accessible via the Design Studio. The next thing I'm going to look at here is something that's much more about the actual custom code that you might be building. So CodeQL. So CodeQL is a code analysis engine developed by GitHub, which we now know is owned by Microsoft. So essentially, they've got this CodeQL analysis engine, and it's available as a plugin in VS Code. And so really what this integration was is just within the Power Platform, like the tools for VS Code desktop, they've just made it really easy to run the CodeQL scan on a Power Pages website by just analyzing the code that you've downloaded using the Pack CLI. So when you are in the VS Code desktop, if you have the Power Pages or the Power Platform tools installed, which gives you kind of the extensions for Power Pages, within the current site under Power Pages action, you can basically just right click and say, hey, run a CodeQL scan. And what's going to do is it's going to look at all of your code and it's going to kind of identify common vulnerabilities. And it's going to output it as a Serif file, which is kind of when you install the Power Platform extension, it's going to include a viewer for that file type as well. So why don't we take a look at what that actually looks like? So I've got my VS Code open here, VS Code desktop. So I have a Power Pages site open. Under my Power Pages actions, we can see my active sites that are listed, and I have this NHPAP site open, and you can see it's marked as a current. If I right-click here and say Run CodeQL Screening, it shouldn't take too long. The first time you run it, there's lots that it has to download. It has to download the actual like CodeQL kind of rules database, and so it might take a minute or two to do that. But in terms of the actual scan, again, obviously dependent on the how much code you have, how big your site is. This is I'd call this a medium site. This is the site I use for demos and sessions like this. So over the years, I've added pages and pages and pages, but nothing too crazy. So we will just hang on here, and we'll see how long it takes to actually produce the output file. Let's see here. It started creating database and analyzing, importing files. 23 seconds. I think the last time I did this, it was maybe, I don't know, it might have been 2 minutes. But it was, I know, also pulling the latest. I hadn't done it in a little while, so it's pulling kind of the latest rule set engine from CodeQL. If we just quickly look at the extensions area while this is running, if you look at the Power Platform tools, if you look at its dependencies, extension pack, you can see that as when you install Power Platform tools, it's installing the CodeQL extension and the Serif viewer. So yeah, obviously the heavy lifting is being done by this CodeQL extension, and this is just kind of a shortcut that lets you run it easily for Power Pages. I'm not actually sure whether there's any kind of customization of the CodeQL kind of engine specifically for Power Pages or not. Let's see. Still running, still going. Go back to here. So you get to see all the comments that it provides on all the fantastic code that I use for my blogs and other things that are usually just kind of done quickly at the last minute. So I'm sure it'll have lots of nice things to say about it. So you can see as it's going through, it's kind of listing files here. This is all pretty big log here of, oh, now we're interpreting the results. So I think we're any second here going to see, there we go. So this is that Serif file viewer. I'm assuming it's just some kind of, probably nothing too fancy underneath the hood, but it allows you to drill it. So let's look at one of these things that it found. So it says script loaded from content delivery network with no integrity check. So here I have this Ajax. Let's see what it is. Is it? It's Moment, minified version of Moment, which is a time library. I'm trying to think if I even. Yeah, it looks like we're doing that for a React sample that I had. So it's telling me, hey, you should probably do an integrity check on that one. What do we have here? This is going to find. Did I forget a semicolon somewhere? Yeah, this is, I think, let's see, 94. Yeah, so this is probably a bit of a challenge here with maybe some liquid stuff. So it's not going to be perfect. This is probably some more liquid stuff. What else do we have in here? Probably more liquid stuff. So, and then what do we have in here? Yeah, more liquid stuff. So as you can see here, if you're mixing JavaScript and liquid, you may kind of get some false positives in here, because I don't think that's necessarily been optimized to understand that the liquid runs on the server side, produces the JavaScript, which does result in valid JavaScript, but it does look like a little bit odd if you're not aware of that context. So yeah, again, this is another great tool that I do recommend that you're running on a pretty regular basis when you are building with Power Pages. Kind of curious as to how many people out there are actually using VS Code for desktop for their development practices. I know I'm a huge fan of the VS Code for web, and so that's kind of my go-to interface for when I'm doing coding. But this kind of tool, I know recently, I think we may have shown this in a previous call here, but maybe I could just do it again here, bring it up here. If you go into your Power Pages site, and I go edit code on this, open in VS Code. So if I open up the VS Code for web, there's a new button that will open up and kind of download things for you in VS Code desktop. Where is it here? I think it's in here. Yeah, so you can see right here. So there's the option to open in the Power Pages Studio. But if you click this, the open in VS Code desktop, it's going to ask you to, it's going to basically walk you through the process of kind of download, like creating the connection to Dataverse for you and downloading the site so that you can open up VS Code desktop. I find that sometimes it's just, I can be a little bit, I can be a little bit lazy where it's like, I'd like to run this, I'd like to use a feature of VS Code desktop, but I don't want to create, if you're working with lots of different clients, hey, I don't really want to create the connection to that Dataverse environment, and it's a few extra steps. So this makes it so that you click and it kind of walks you through that process pretty quickly. So a nice little addition to the VS Code desktop options. Okay. So yeah, that's the CodeQL scan. This is a relatively new feature, and obviously as the CodeQL engine itself is being improved and enhanced, those enhancements will come for the will apply to anything you run for your Power Pages site. Okay, back to our next scan. So before we get into the last two scans, I did want to just talk about the security agent. So this is, again, a relatively new feature in Power Pages, with Power Pages being this kind of low-code platform that Microsoft is really kind of pushing for enterprises. Again, security is just always going to be a focus for them. So the security agent is available in the Power Pages Design Studio, and it does provide essentially a context-aware security chat, as well as a couple of automated kind of security scans. So let's just quickly look at that chat before we look at those security scans. So actually, I had it open before. I'm going to cancel this. If you go into the security area, right, and then how do I get my, there we go. So basically, there's kind of essentially a co-pilot here for a security agent, and you can do lots of things. So you can tell it to run a security scan. Let's see, is my WAF on? Let's see what it says. Checking the WAF status. Uh-oh, no, couldn't find it. Uh-oh. Anyways, so my understanding is that we've got basically a security agent here that can answer your questions and should understand kind of details about your environment, so you can ask them questions, get recommendations. Yeah, so there's that kind of security agent, and then there's the automated things that you could be doing as well. I see here we have a question or a comment from Alexander. Said he's helping out with the Power Pages security assessment next week and didn't know about CodeQL. Yeah. So all of these scans, when we do our security assessments, we basically do run through all of these kind of scans that I'm showing you here. And yeah, CodeQL is a new one that's been added to our list as well. So I'm just going through. I'm trying to see when CodeQL came out, because it's not real. Like I said, it's not. Like October, so it's relatively new. Kind of came out in the fall, so it is pretty new. Okay, so that's the security agent providing you that context-aware security chat, and like I mentioned, it provides a couple of automated scanning functionality as well. So the first one we're going to look at is they just call it the automated scan. So again, this is configured in that same security workspace. We'll look at that in a second. And it can run a vulnerability scan on your site automatically every couple of weeks. So it's going to use an OWASP Zap engine. So again, another engine. I don't know if that's the same as the main deep scan that we looked at, but it essentially will identify similar types of things. But with this, you can have it scheduled to run on your site on a regular basis. And then if it does find anything, you can configure it to send notifications via email, via Teams, or via in-product messages. So again, similar to that deep scan, but this is something you could have it run automatically every couple of weeks. So if we go back to our browser, we can see the, if we go to the, where did it go? Run scan, set up. Have this load again. We're a little slow here today. Are these, unable to, something's going on. I'm just going to reload because we should see the security agent in here. Interesting. Very interesting. So something must be going on. Let me just check one of my other sites here, see if I can get that to show up. Yeah, something's happened with Microsoft, as is typical for a demo. So I guess you will just have to, why don't I just kind of go to the documentation? So Power Pages security agent. Yeah, so within here, something's not right. Anyways, so in here you can select under the security tab, we should see security agents, and then there'd be a couple of areas here, and one of them is, I will just zoom in here. Let me just view image. Do this. So you can see here under security agents in the security tab, you would see the ability to edit. You could enable this site scan for vulnerabilities, and then if you did, you'd have the ability to select, do you want in-product notifications, do you want emails, or do you want Teams? So again, this is running a scan similar to that deep scan. It's going to tell you things about your, it's going to be like, cookies and headers and those types of things are going to be analyzed, and going to send you those types of notifications. Yeah, I'm kind of curious as to where, I don't know that I've ever seen like things disappear from the menu before. That's very interesting. Anywho, open up, see if we have any questions. Yeah, anyways, moving on. So that's kind of the automated scan. The last one that we'll talk about here is the traffic monitoring. So again, configured in that kind of same place, you can enable this. And this is actually looking at live traffic hitting your site using Microsoft Sentinel. And it's looking at that traffic and historic traffic data. And it's looking for essentially anomalies, any sort of security concerns based on the traffic. And it's going to do something similar. It's going to send out notifications either via email, Teams, or in product messages. So again, it's pretty simple to enable them. Very low, not too many downsides to having these enabled. So in terms of best practices, as far as I'm concerned, like I said, the risk to using these tools, is pretty low. I guess you can never say none, but like take advantage of these tools. They don't cost you anything for the most part. They other than potentially your time, but definitely I would say incorporate these scans into your development workflow. At a minimum, I would say you want to run these scanning tools before any sort of major release. Run them in development. Having the security agent running in production, I think is kind of helpful, assuming it is. Honestly, I can't remember if that's in preview still or not. But I would definitely recommend once it's GA, having that in production, and then having those emails go to your inbox so that you can see if you have any, if those scans find any issues, and then using the portal checker or the deep scan and the quick scan, running both of those as well. Like I said, there is some overlap between them, but there's things that are kind of unique to them. So it doesn't take much to run those tools. And as Alexander was saying earlier, when you're doing a security audit for a customer, like that's one of the first things that we do. These tools are, again, built in, as you can see, very easy to use, I guess, when the site's actually loading properly. Oh, sorry, I should have done that. They're easy to use, generally just a click of a button, and they can save you a lot of heartache if you have something that's not quite configured properly. So strongly recommend that you incorporate these into your development workflow. All right. So that's what I have in terms of the content for today, in terms of the scans that are available in Power Pages. Yeah, sorry, Cheryl, I forgot to switch back to the slides, but I think they should be back now. Now, in terms of next call, we're going to do that on March 12th. As always, if you have any particular topics that you'd like to see covered, always open to suggestions on that. Let's see here. Now, I think, kind of just based on memory and a quick searching, I think I covered all the scans that are currently available. If anyone knows of a scan that's included in the product that I've missed, please let me know. I'd love to know if I've forgotten something, but those are the ones that I could think of, or those were the ones I found in my search for that we're using on a regular basis. Yeah, as always, want to say thank you to Jason and the team at MS Dynamics World. And I would just say that I'm open to any questions that someone used to. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, happy to answer those questions. Let's see here if there's any additional questions. See here, nothing in the chat. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Cheryl. Yeah, I know you are a regular attendee of these calls, so yeah, you're probably used to / sick of my presentation style. Yeah, so Varun's asking about a session on the client side APIs. Yeah, I can definitely target something like that. I tend to kind of wait until something's a little like generally in GA, like generally available before doing a session, and that's only because these sessions, once I do one, I don't necessarily want to cover that same topic kind of anytime soon, and so when things are in preview, things can kind of change. So I generally wait till they're relatively stable before doing a session. But I know that there's and that's why I haven't done one on server side, the server logic yet. But it might be fun next time to do just like a half and half, where we'll get into server logic a little bit, get into client side API. So I can definitely put that on the list of things to cover. Yeah, same with kind of the single page applications. Those just became available. We did, I think, I could be lying, but did we not do one on single page applications? Let me just check.
Yeah, in October.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because we had my colleague Alan Rumberger present on single page applications. So Adrian, if you didn't have a chance to check that one out, the recording should be up there. But yeah, we did do one on single page applications. All right, I think the questions have quieted down, so I think perhaps, Jason, we could probably wrap it up. Oh, sorry, Cheryl's got something. Short while ago, involved in building up reusable components, made a bento box, but I'm not sure handle the styling well. So a session on that. Okay, so what is a bento box? I mean, I'm familiar with bento boxes in general, but is that something that is? I'm not sure what that has to do with it in the tech world. Is that a thing in the tech world as to what a bento box is?
I'm not familiar with that either. In this context.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe Cheryl, you know how to get a hold of me. So if you want to give me some details on what that means, then and then Adrian's saying, yeah, maybe some thoughts on where we're going with Power Pages and new features. Yeah, that's a great idea as well. I know that if you haven't had a chance to check out the podcast, we sometimes kind of cover those things. They're kind of more of our thoughts, because it doesn't necessarily require the same kind of screen sharing type thing. So it's always good to have someone like George to kind of bounce the ideas off of. But yeah, kind of a what's new. Yesterday I presented for the kind of Washington DC user group, so I did kind of an intro to Power Pages. So maybe do one of those as well. So, okay, Cheryl's going to get us an example of a bento box. Maybe I could just Google it too, but bento box. Oh, is it like a window manager thing? I wonder if that's, I got a colleague who just is all into window managers these days, and I wonder if it's related to that, because I see that there is a window manager type thing that would make sense if she, let's just see, maybe now that I have the context. Okay, yeah, my guess is that's what it is, but like, yeah, basically to have kind of like different like a window manager thing on Power Pages. So yeah, that would be an interesting topic as well. I'm kind of curious. It almost sounds like maybe Cheryl's offering to do a session herself so that we can see how she did it.
All right, we'll book it.
So I think she volunteered. Yeah, it's a grid with different size cards. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so okay, I think we'll see if Cheryl maybe wants to jump on a call and show us what she's done. Um, okay, I think that's probably where we can wrap it up for today, Jason. Thanks everyone for attending, and hope to see you in March.